Thank you for joining me today. My friend brought this over. It's one of 6 chairs. She loves the style of the chairs. The only problem is that when she sits in it, and she's a little bit taller than me, she feels that she is like a 2-year-old because the table ends up so much higher. And so she has asked me to double the size of the seat cushion here. It's a nice simple fix. It's just making a deeper cushion, so nothing too awkward about that. So let's get on with it. Now the back of this fabric has a fault in it. It's where they've glued this onto the front fabric. This is quite rough, so I really don't want any part of this being on the cushion at all. So I will cut either side because that would be a weakness and it will tear up anything that's underneath it. This fabric has lines going across and then the stripe going up. The stripe going up seems to be a little bit more defined than all the red going across. The other thing that I've noticed is, although this has been cut straight, the red comes in here and it's the same in patches. It doesn't flow. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure the front here and center it. And I'm going to center the lines going up rather than worry about the lines going across. And the reason is the lines going across don't matter. They are going to kind of disappear once you've got the piping on. But these lines here going across are the ones that you're going to notice. So you want those to be even going into the side and to the back. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to fold that along the seam line here and put the pin in and make my way all the way around. When I finish, I'm going to fold it over and it should be mostly even, but I really want this to be the thing that you keep your focus on. So that is a nice easy fix. Nobody will ever notice that that is wonky. And having chosen that the fabric is going to go this way, once I have this cut out, this is going to be the pattern I'm using, and all of the cushion covers top and bottom will be cut out the same way. Having cut the cushions out, I'm just going to cut some piping. It's 1.5 inches wide. I'm doing it across the bias because I didn't want to have stripes going like that or that. I wanted it to look a little bit more even. I'm going to cut it as I want it, and then I will cut enough for the next one because I don't want to overcut, because I often use my piping for other bits and pieces. I don't want to have it tied up with too much of one colour. On the side pieces here I have the selvage, so I'm going to pop that at the bottom, put that across there, and it will all go in the right direction. Pop that down, and I'm just going to go from corner to corner with the small stitch. Fold that one back, the next one, make sure the selvage is down, and repeat till I've got those few pieces together. On the longest stitch, I'm just going to continue with this piping. Pop that there. So close to the join, I'm just going to cut that back now while I'm here, like that. Push that into the fold. Make sure your raw edges are even, and so. When you get close enough to the join, open the join up so that the seam is flat. Make sure your raw edges are even. Keep that firm as you go and work your way down to the end of your length piping. I'm just going to leave enough of the length there to join on if I need to add any more to it later. Because I'm using short lengths of piping and not terribly long ones, I need to make sure that all of the joins like that are on a length rather than in a corner. So there's my first join, my second, third, fourth, and then this one comes round to the top. So I should be fine if I make sure the first 2 joins are in between. Hold that and bring that over to here. So I'm going to start sewing here on the back. Because this is thick fabric, I do want those joins not to be on the corners. Sometimes I have to deal with it, but I try not to. Pull any threads over that you don't want poking through to the front. This one's actually a little bit close, but it'll be fine, because the join itself is here, it's down from the corner. So I'm just going to sew that into there. I think I might have cut that too close. I'm actually going to adjust that and cut that a little bit further out so that when that folds down it's still got the distance there, which actually takes the join here further down. That's good. Having made my turn, I'm just going to carry on sewing to the next corner. So down to this corner. If you're not sure how close you are, you can wind it in like this. Needle's down, the foot's up, and you rotate that around the needle. Lift the foot a little bit higher sometimes, then pull your fabric back into place, put the needle down and carry on sewing to the next corner. Sometimes I get these really close. I think I might just be able to make that work, but I'm going to have to cut this very tentatively when I come to fix it in. So I'm going to bring that down to about there so I know I've got plenty and cut it, and then I'll start the next ones. I have here the front of the seat cushion and the border. Usually I start in the centre, which is probably, wasn't too far. So that was my centre to there, and work my way out. All I'm going to do is work from here to the back. I don't have any pattern matching, which is really quite handy. Into the corner and then up the side. And so long as my join here misses this join here, which it does that side, let's double check on the other side too. I can adjust it if it's going to hit, and there's no join on that side. I've got plenty of room for that join. I'm going to just pop it in here. I'm going to start sewing just down from that join, and then I've got plenty of room for putting the zip border into the side. I'm sewing it in like any other border. The border down on the bottom and the seat cushion on top is the way I prefer to do it. Occasionally I'll do it the other way up, but not very often. Depends how the fabric walks. Coming into that corner, I'm going to cut the border about just over 1/4 inch in at an angle towards the corner here. I'm going to wind it in to where I think I want to turn it, which is there. Needle down, pick the foot up. I'm going to see where it is. Keep the foot up if it's thick fabric. Turn the top onto the bottom like that. Make sure your foot's down, and sew across the front. The fabric itself is quite thick, but fortunately, although it is thick, it's quite a loose weave fabric, so my needle is going through quite nicely. You can hear it tapping when it goes across where the join is. That's not necessarily a good sign, but it'll be okay. Again, I'm going to just cut the corner in. It's about 1/4 inch deep, although it's probably about 1/2 inch long. Down. I'm just making sure that my stitches aren't over the front of the original stitches. I want them behind. Twist everything back into place, foot down, and sew. Now obviously I don't particularly care which way I put the border on, because there's an up and a down, and it will be the same on all of these. And I'll leave that to join the next piece on with. Let's look at the corners. They went in quite nicely. So I'm going to collate this. I'm going to fold the other piece with it, and then I know that I've got both sides of each cushion together. Pull this one out and double check where the side joins are, because they're all different. There's one there, there. The one that's got joins where I think I'm going to be putting the side joins, I'm going to use that first. And again, fold that in half, fold that in half, put the two centers together, then ease my way back. That misses this one, and then the same on the other side. I just got to be very careful about those joints. That's a little bit close. So I'm going to just pull that one up, maybe about 1/2 inch, so it's a little bit higher. It won't make any difference on the seat, because from about here back it's hidden by the arm of the chair, so that works out nicely. So I'm going to attach this one and sew it into position, just as I had done on the first one. I'm working my way up the side here for the zipping, because I don't really care which way the zipping goes. All I'm doing here is putting on one side of the zipper, and I'm going to go all the way down. I'm not pulling it, I'm just kind of placing it on top and sewing till I get to the bottom. I'm not going to remove the end of that zip there, I'm going to just leave it in situ. The reason is I don't like cutting continuous zipping until I've actually finished using it, especially if I'm doing long lengths. In order to put the second side on, I'm going to roll that over and pull that up so that this has to go in at a slight angle. so that the zip will be covered by the fabric. If I put it side by side like that, it invariably means that the zipping isn't covered. I'm going to make my way all the way down this length. Now I do have a join in here, so when I get there I'll just open the seam up like that and make sure that both sides of this match. It's not uncommon to put a join on a length of zipping. I'm going to put the slide on and open it quite a ways. You don't want it too close to the top. Make sure that's down because it's got little teeth in it. And I've got the top tooth on the left hand side. Sometimes these take a little while to lock into place. Push that down. That one's got 2 teeth at the top. Push that up. See whether that's got it. Third time lucky today, I think. When you do put your zips together, make sure that the border that you're going to sew onto is underneath. Just going to cut that back a little bit so it's a nice good edge. Put one on top of the other, make sure that the seams are even. I'm going to make my way to the other side. Before I get there, I'm going to put my piece of fabric over the top like that so I can secure that in place. Reverse. Go over quite a ways if you've got a really deep cushion. So the next part is fixing the piping. Open that up on both sides like this. Fold those open. Cut that back at my 45-degree angle like that. Make sure that and that are over the top, and I can come back to at least there, I think. I'm lucky I can follow the way the fabric was woven. Refold that into place like that, and I can see that there is my sew line because that's about halfway through. Pop that on top of there like that, and then under here I've eyeballed where my sew line is. Shorten the stitch and then sew across. Open it up to make sure that it's where it needs to be. It looks like this edge here will follow quite nicely, so I'm pleased with that. Pop that back into line, pop that under there like that. Then make sure the raw sides of your piping are together and sew. I have extended the stitch to the longest stitch. Bring that over like that and cut that up at a 45-degree angle. That just allows me to overlap the piping slightly, so there's the bottom there. Do the same with that. If it's not quite where it needs to be, it smushes. Bring that over and carry on going. Push that in. And sew as far as you can, and then slide both bits under there. Line that up, sew that in place like you have with the rest of the piping. Flip it over, back over the border where you finished sewing a short while ago, and then sew into place. I'm going to pop that underneath the seam there so that everything stays forward, and guide, because I don't want it rucked up, I want it all going forward. That should do it. I'm going to sew to the top, cut into the corner like I've done everywhere else, like that, and then swing the back of that over the zip border, drop the foot down and carry on around. If you have got a seam in the zip border, open it up like you did where the zip was, flatten it out and then sew across. Keep everything nice and smooth. This is the first side of the zip border I put in, and it's still rucked it up despite me trying to be firm with the pushing of that under as possible. So I will go from here down, but the side on here, pull that open like that, pop that on top, fold that back and work out where the seam is going to go, and I'm going to cut that back to that line here and across like that. I'm going to put the second side seam here, put that across. Left that a little bit late, so let's pop that down, put that up, pop that down there, and sew across the zip, reverse all the way to the end. Finish up sewing the second side in. Because that's gone in the way I was sewing, that has gone down, which is where I want it. Before I forget, I have to do them when I'm thinking about it. I always try to make sure I've done all the repairs as I go. Now I'm going to work out where the join goes for this back and do it exactly the same way as I did the first one. When dealing with really tall-sided seat cushions, be extra specially careful about getting all the corners in place. There to there, there to there, double check and pin. And just work your way around really carefully. Some things you can rush, but this isn't one of them. Pin it. Even on these back corners, make sure that they are square on and pin. I'm just starting a couple of inches in from the front border here and sewing into place. Cut your corner in, needle down, foot up and turn, just like you always do. Ease everything back into place as you come round, foot down and across. I usually hold the corner in a little bit tight so it doesn't slip. Pull out to the centre like that and make sure that goes in towards the centre. And then holding that in place there, I'm going to sew towards that corner, making sure the raw edges are together. And as I get closer, I'm going to take the pin out, still holding it, sewing towards the corner. Then again, I'm going to just cut like that, sew right to the corner, down, turn the fabric into place, foot down. At least an inch under there before I straighten everything. Straighten things to the end, to the centre. If it was a really long cushion, I'd do the centre and then quarter it. But this isn't a really huge cushion. This just ensures that everything goes in relatively evenly. That's where the zip goes in. Alter it. See if this works. Push and hold that in place, not under and where the needle's going to come down, just to one side. And then into the top corner. Remove the pin, straighten the border out. There's the piping here, and I'm just going to cut in towards the piping a little way, like that. You don't want to cut over where the piping is going to go. You don't want to be too far back or too far forward. And then bring it into the back and twist into shape. Now this is shaped, so I'm going to again work out where half of it is. It's going to look a little bit loose because of the shaping. The seam's right there. That's a pain. Actually, it's just off. Hopefully that's not going to be a problem. Didn't think about that when I put it in. Pull the top against the bottom. Not too much, just a little bit. And into the side here. It's very easy, it's just the same as I do any other boxed cushion. I just have to be a little bit more cautious because of the height of the seat cushion and also the shaping and the thickness. The thickness of this fabric is quite something. Then I should be able to pull all of this into place as I go towards the front. If you start quite close to the front of the cushion, you should keep it where it needs to be. Sometimes on fabrics, if they walk, I will start sewing each corner in and then pulling the fabric in, depending whether I have to tip the fabric one way or the other, because sometimes you need to flip it the other way up. This went in quite well. I'm going to check my seams that I've put in. It is a bit rucked up, but it's gone in quite well. And that one's gone in quite well. So I'm quite pleased with that. This is the foam. I've lined it up with the front on both sides. And my friend, bless him, hadn't realised I wanted these taken back. So he phoned me and said that he would send them back to the warehouse and get it done. So he did that for me. And I said, don't worry about the foam that goes on either side because I can do that myself. So all I'm doing is drawing a line there, and then I'm going to cut both sides back like this. If I don't cut it exact, it doesn't matter either because it will be squashed around on the top. The next part is I'm going to bring the corners right up to the edge on both ends like that, then draw the shape round like that because I really don't want all that foam on there. I'm going to cut it slightly back but not to the end because I don't want to have it really crisp on there. That would do for that one. I'll do the same on the other one. Then I'm going to just put a little bit of glue like that, pop this down level with the front, just a little spray. It is so wedged in it's not going to move. Put a bit of glue on here and attach it to that end and the other. It's just to hold the shape. I've cut into the top and bottom there so I can pull this part back, pull that one down and this one up. I'm just going to catch a few stitches. This just keeps everything tidy as I put the seat cushion into the cover. Pop that down and then pull that up hard as I then sew this all the way across to the back. I don't want it loose, I have to have it tight, otherwise it will wrinkle when the new cover has been put over the top. You want the covers to be relatively tight, otherwise they just stretch a few stitches and pull. At the back, cut up towards the top of the foam and the same at the bottom, so it folds round. Cut a little bit of this off. I'm going to sew into the side here first, into that corner so it holds the fabric. Fold that in really tight and that over the top, and I'm going to just sew this down so it's nice and tightly into place on this back corner. Now that comes up. I'm going to sew back up a couple of stitches to get all of that squared off. This I'm going to pull down into place and that up, so it's going to give me a bit of an arc as it goes around the shape of the back. I'm going to do this almost to the other side. I need to pack the second side of this cushion the same way as I have just shown you. Just going to cut up here to the top and here down. Cut this side back a little bit, pull that down and this up, and I'm going to pin it in place. Now this I'm going to pop under here to soften that, and I'm going to carry on sewing to this edge here. Nice thing about Dacron is it's quite squishy, so it goes where you want it to go. Just going to come along the back here, put a couple of stitches in to hold it. I think actually these are the highest cushions I've ever made. Take that out, and then I'm going to whip stitch all the way to the front. So I've folded the second front in so it's nice and neat, and then just a few stitches down the front here to hold it because I don't want any of this opening up, and then I can just thread that through and it's done. I've folded it inside out and then pushed the front corners back, which I'm going to pop over there like that. Ease onto the corner as best I can. I'm going to flip it, and I've done the same thing on the other side. I want the zip off the edge of the front edge of the cushion when I'm doing this because I don't want it to be too stressed. Tip it over. You can see the first side's come out slightly, so I'm going to push that back in and then bring the sides back, and I'm going to just ease that on. Go to the first side, which went on quite well. Open that up slightly and then push down and bring that back, and I'll push this one down, and hopefully take your time. Because I've gone across there, the zip should hold. Open that up and then push back again, and it will work into place. Pull those corners out slightly and even them up, and just pull from the front of the cushion to the back until I can get the back of the zip into place on both ends and both sides, and then I'm just going to have to push and pull and force that zip up, but it does fit. It just takes a little bit of effort. Thank you for joining me on this video. She wanted it twice as high, and it most definitely is. You don't want the top of the cushion to be level with the arms, otherwise you give a very flat look to everything. I'm hoping she's pleased. I don't think she realised how twice the height would be. These are very firm cushions. I'm going to advise her to play musical chairs and sit in a different one, just so that they all start to break down and become really comfortable. They go into the back, not as well as I would have liked, but that's because the back of the chair is shaped, and although I put the shaping in, it still pushes it forward slightly, which does mean the front of this chair is a little bit proud. It's about an inch. Half an inch would have been perfect. If you want to see more from me, please subscribe, hit the bell button, and a few thumbs up would be brilliant. And in the meantime, take care, see you later. Ciao.